Hi, everyone. I'm Grimm of Medtrics. Once again, I got Medtrics CEO Santhosh Cherian in the studio today. Tosh, how are we doing, my friend?
I'm always doing great.
You are, as I like to say, pathologically optimistic, and I, for one, am grateful for that. Today, I want to ask you about an interesting trend that you've been speaking with me about. And I forget who says that in the technology business, we're either always taking things apart or we're putting them back together. And you've been sharing with me how this new trend in the marketplace. You're seeing a lot more companies trying to consolidate software packages. Talk about how that's playing out in medical education right now.
In medical education, especially large academic medical centers, you have various types of training that's happening. This could be medical students, nursing students, physical therapy students, and all of these students are going through a similar process where they're coming to a clinical environment, they're working with a mentor and getting trained in the apprentice model. The issue is these academic departments often work in a silo. These students come there and work within their department. That information is siloed to that department, sometimes within spreadsheets. What we're starting to see is organizations are recognizing the importance of centralizing all this information and making sure they're building a repository of all of the learners and all of their academic information in one place.
It seems to me that we would often expect that to be the case, right? That you would use the same software to manage the education practice throughout the journey. But what I'm hearing from you is many times that's not the case. Why is that not the case right now?
The reason why is because unlike in most college environment where you may have a computer science department and a psychology department managed by the overall university, in healthcare, often the medical school, nursing school, vet school, they all have their own leadership and they often make decisions for their school independent of the rest of the university. Even if they have a hospital health system, that entity operates independently with different decision makers and different decision processes.
What happens at the university level or the healthcare level when you've got these multiple systems? What are some of the inefficiencies you see?
Let's take a look at medical students, for example. You have a medical school that is scheduling students to different rotations, and they are sending them to different rotations at the hospital. Even if that hospital is owned by the same parent organization, when you don't have those two entities fully integrated, you're creating a schedule saying you're going to go to internal medicine at hospital X, which is owned by our institution. When that student arrives at hospital X, that local coordinator has to figure out a way to manage their local schedules, pair them up with mentors, manage their evaluations on their own. So you have two siloed entities with duplicated work.
When you describe this, the idea of having a central platform that would take everyone up through the beginning of UME all the way up through residency, on paper, it makes a lot of sense. But the devil's in the details, right? Because the person who buys this software for the freshman at UME, totally different people, totally different entities. So if an organization wants to take advantage of this trend, it's going to take perhaps a little bit more interaction with different stakeholders that they may not engage with on a regular basis, right?
Yeah, you can say that the medical school often does communicate with the GME. The problem becomes even more challenging when you're dealing with nursing school and allied health professions, where the residency programs that the hospital is running may not have any line of contact with the allied health colleges or the nursing school. So it becomes even more of a challenge of getting everybody aligned. The end of the day, what everybody has to do is take a step back and look at the 30,000 foot view. All of these are learners that are going through a similar process. They go to a hospital, they are scheduled for a few weeks, they have a mentor they work with, they get evaluated, they write down logs. So it's a similar process. There is no need to have so many silos.
Now, you mentioned to me that there's a really interesting parallel how the model is evolving. It's that three-letter word that comes up in healthcare all the time, and often there's groans and complaints about it, but you said it's really instructive to how to think about this. So share with us the parallel that you see.
Having gone through medical school residency and been a faculty in radiology for multiple years, I see the healthcare world, at least from a technology standpoint, as two major institutions operating in parallel. One is the clinical, the other is the academic. In the clinical world, we got everything kind of sorted out because it's important and everybody prioritizes it. You look at EHRs. When you implement an EHR for the health system, everyone in that organization is using it. The medical students, the residents, allied health professionals, the allied health students. There is one source of truth and everyone is on it. On the academic world, we haven't got there yet.
And I think it's a tremendous parallel, right? Because EHR projects they're very big, they're very complex, they're not without their challenges, but inevitably you do end up with that one source of truth, which is kind of what you're getting at here for medical students, right? You've talked about being able to evaluate that student from the beginning to the end. And also, one of the other benefits that I think we need to be aware of is, as you mentioned, this also comes into play from a recruiting standpoint, right? If you've got affiliation agreements in place.
Yeah, and that's where we need to take a look at a few steps down the road. It's a game of chess, not checkers. If you look at the immediate thing, it might seem like a lot of work and a lot of expense. But what happens is every single learner that is coming to your health system is interested in your organization for some reason, or they're forced to go there. And either way, they get to know your health system. If you can create a strong pipeline of those learners to come there and work afterwards, you have a significant decrease in your recruitment costs. So that's where the ROI really comes into play in doing this work. And these days, with the shortage of health professionals across the board, it's worth that investment so that you recoup that cost later.
Are you seeing the health systems make the decision first and then it trickles down to undergraduate? Are you seeing it go the opposite way?
We're seeing it on both fronts. On one side, it's the larger health system that is understanding the importance of managing student learners, because they always have understood the importance of managing residents because they get reimbursed from the federal government to run those training programs. But students always been dismissed because they're do a rotation, they're not getting paid for it. Now they're seeing the importance of centralizing all of that, maintaining those relationships with these institutions. And then on the university side, it's usually from an accreditation standpoint. Every medical school, vet school, they all need to be accredited by some national entity. Often the university is providing support services to these colleges to maintain their accreditation. They can make it much easier upon themselves if they put everybody in one system and they can support their accreditation needs in a streamlined manner.
Centralized medical education software, folks. It's just one of the trends we're keeping an eye on at Medtrics.